It is 10 a.m. and Boker Tov and Bruchim Habaim. Good morning and welcome to the second annual Sherry Sukel Memorial Women's League of Conservative Judaism Region Torah Fund Day of Study. Got an amazing, inspiring morning planned for you. It is always wonderful to be together, biyachad, with my sisters from the fabulous Florida region. I just heard someone mention hugs. I'd much rather have real hugs. As I said, it's always wonderful to be together, biyachad. I do want to welcome, and we will hear from Lori later, but I want to welcome Sherry's daughters, Deborah Morris from St. Augustine and Lori Sukel, who's from one of our congregations in Miami. And they are, as I said, Sherry's daughters, and we're really thrilled to have both of you here. And Lori's going to talk a little bit about her mother later. She already showed us a wonderful picture of her mom as a child. Before we get started with the formal program, just a few Zoom housekeeping details to start off. Please stay muted until we take the mute off. This way things will be easier with the speakers. Please open your chats. If you open your chats, you'll be able to communicate that way. Use that to ask any questions. Sherry Peterson and Sharon Cross of Congregation Kol Ami are monitoring the chat for any questions and comments, and periodically will post information. My suggestion is that you put your view on speaker view. This will make it easier to see who is speaking. That you don't have to scroll through the pages. If you're on speaker view, the person who's speaking will come right up. And if your Zoom box does not have your correct name, if you could fix this or ask in the chat how to do it, we'll be happy to fix it. One of the co-hosts can fix it for you.
Jeanette, if you just would add first and last name, please.
Yes, please put your first and last name. I went in already and fixed a few people, but if you can add first and last name, that would be wonderful. This kind of program doesn't happen on its own. As our Torah Fund theme for this year says, each of us is one small nugget of gold, but biyachad, together, we sisterhood members accomplish amazing things. And together, we plan today's program. I want to thank my sisters, without whom today could not have happened. First and foremost, Roberta Bear and the Sisterhood of Congregation Kol Ami in Tampa. You graciously agreed to host today at a time that you had no idea that this was going to be a virtual event. Despite the fact that you didn't have to prepare lunch for all of us, although we hope at some point you'll do that because you have wonderful caterers, at some point in the future when it's safe, you still have supported this event in every way you can. Sharon Cross and Sherry Peterson, as I said, of the Kol Ami Sisterhood, are monitoring the chat and doing a number of other jobs for us virtually today. Thank you for taking on this important responsibility. To Kathy Swerdlow, I want to thank you for always being there for me and being my sounding board. To Nancy Goldberg, for doing such an awesome job of taking the RSVPs and managing the donations made to Torah Fund in honor of today's program, and for keeping me constantly updated and always responding to my many calls and emails. And to Mona Haas, who every week does an awesome job publishing our Florida Region Shabbat Shalom, and has put up with all of my last minute changes to flyers, Zoom links, late flyers, and more. And I do want to thank in advance our rabbis who will be teaching us today. They graciously agreed to participate, and I know that they both will help us heal our bodies and souls as we learn together biyachad today. I apologize if I inadvertently left someone out. Everyone's contributions are important and appreciated. As I said before, we women accomplish great things biyachad. Yasher koach and toda rabah to each of you. Many of you have read my weekly articles in the Florida Region Shabbat Shalom and the stories of the impact the graduates of our 5 conservative Masorti seminaries have made during the terrible pandemic we've been living through. Now more than ever, we understand the importance of our rabbis, cantors, Jewish educators, chaplains, and more. They've gone above and beyond with their creative ways of reaching and supporting their congregants during this crisis, whether it's in times of grief, creative ways to celebrate Simchot, through daily inspirational recordings, special classes, or creative services. I have heard many of you say that you've been participating more at your synagogues now than ever before. Helping support our students through Torah Fund ensures that our movement will continue to be strong and continue for our children and grandchildren's generations and beyond. If you've not already done so this year, please make your annual commitment to Torah Fund. These dollars are needed now more than ever before. You can easily make your contributions online to the Torah Fund General Campaign and the Creating New Spaces campaign. The links will be posted a number of times in the chat today. Or you can continue to send your checks to your Sisterhood Torah Fund chairperson. I've gotten many phone calls about that and emails. You can continue to send checks into your sisterhoods, but you will get an immediate receipt if you make your gifts online. I also urge you to consider making a legacy gift of any size to Torah Fund. Please let me know if you have an interest in doing so, and I will have someone contact you about the Torah Fund Legacy Society. Now, I'd like to call on Kathy Sword. Oh, before that, I'm sorry, I skipped this. Most of you haven't had the details. I want to give you a second to peruse the details of this morning so you can see our timeline. We are going to try to stay very close to the schedule, so we won't be suffering from any screen fatigue. So you can see that we're moving right along, and we should be ending around 12:30. Now I'd like to call on Kathy Swerdlow, president of our fabulous Florida region, for some remarks and to introduce our first speaker.
So it is my pleasure to be with everybody, and especially because I didn't have to get up 2.5 hours earlier to drive to Tampa. So there are some advantages to this virtual life. And one of the wonderful things, aside from saving the wear and tear on our cars, is that so many people from all around the country are able to join us. But most importantly, we will have the benefit this morning of hearing from the International Women's League for Conservative Judaism president, a woman who probably needs no introduction at this point, but I will anyway. It is my pleasure to welcome to the fabulous Florida region, Debbie Kaner-Goldich. Debbie?
Thank you, Kathy. Good morning to the fabulous Florida region. I'm so happy to be with you this morning at the second annual Sherry Sukel Torah Fund Day of Study. And I have to say that I did miss getting on an airplane and coming to Florida because I would have been there. I knew Sherry very well. When I first met her on the Torah Fund cabinet, we connected to each other as a couple of Massachusetts girls. Later, when I served as International Torah Fund Chair, she taught me a great deal about how to do my job. She was a great fundraiser and very creative. Every year after the B'nai Torah event, she would send me the little giveaway. A little emotional. Some years it was a white chocolate candy bar with a picture of the Torah Fund pin. Other years it was a little bar of soap with the picture of the Torah Fund pin. And my favorite year was the year she made a Torah scroll out of the Smarties candy and a cardboard with the picture of the Torah Fund pin inside it. And I see Lori shaking her head yes. Sherry was the most amazing volunteer and devoted to Torah Fund. In fact, she was honored by the fabulous Florida region in 2017 as an inspirational role model and was listed in the Women's League calendar diary as such. I have thought of her often during the last 2 years, and she would be proud to know that her name is associated with the Florida Region Day of Study, and that today we have come together, biyachad, in her name to heal our bodies and our spirits through Torah. How do we heal our bodies and our spirits during this unique and challenging time of a world pandemic? Many of us, myself included, have turned to Women's League to provide us an opportunity for learning and engagement. Every day, Monday through Friday at noon, we join almost 75 women on Zoom and say the Mishaberach prayer, study a psalm, and recite Mourner's Kaddish. We sit Shiva with women who have buried mothers and husbands and friends and were not able to sit in person. We mourn together and we study together. We celebrate at every opportunity and sing happy birthday to each other. We share in the good and the not so good. Through it all, we are sisters. I would love to have all of you join us. The Zoom link appears each week in the Women's League newsletter. It's called Women's League Week, and you should receive it. And if you don't, please put your email in the chat to me, and I will make sure that you get it. It is indeed an opportunity to be together, biyachad, and heal our bodies and our spirits through Torah. Every day, I wear my Torah Fun pin with pride. When I put it on, I remind myself that the work we do together to raise funds for Torah Fund as members of Sisterhood and Women's League is work we can be proud of. It is God's work. I thank you for the invitation to be with you today and to study together in Sherry's name and support the Torah Fund campaign of Women's League. Good morning.
Thank you. Thank you, Debbie. We're so thrilled to have you join us today. We are almost ready to introduce our speaker. Is Rabbi Blatt on?
Yes, I'm right here.
Okay, you are. I'm sorry. I was trying to scroll through. Roberta, it's your turn. Thank you, Debbie. And before, Roberta, you start, I neglected to acknowledge, I know I saw it in the chat, but we are being joined today by many people from other regions, several other Torah Fund region vice presidents. They've been noting it in the chat, and we're thrilled to, and a number of other people who have received our newsletter, our Florida Region Shabbat Shalom newsletter, and are joining us. And we welcome all of you. I hope some of the participants today will notice in the newsletter that Debbie just mentioned, there are often other regions events shared, and there have been some fabulous programs that are taking place in other parts of North America, and you don't have to get on a plane. You can actually go from one state in the United States to Canada and back to the States in one day, attending wonderful sessions. So we hope you will take advantage of that. Please do put your name. I saw one name go into the chat already. Put your email address in the chat for Debbie, and she will make sure you get the Women's League weekly update. Roberta.
Roberta, you have to unmute yourself.
You have to unmute yourself.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Thank you. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Congregation Kol Ami's virtual Torah Fund Study Day. The one person that we really need to thank is Jeanette Brownstein. We started many weeks ago on Zoom, and she's gone through quite a few things in the last few months, and I want to tell you that she is an amazing person, and thank you so much for getting us to where we are today. I'd like to give you some background information of our next speaker, our Rabbi Rachel Blatt. She joined Congregation Kol Ami in Tampa on August 1st, 2019. She was born in New York and raised in Clearwater, Florida. Born Rachel Feynman, she is the daughter of Renee and Alan Feynman, who still live in Clearwater and are members of Congregation Beth Shalom. Rabbi Blatt graduated from the University of Central Florida in Orlando with a bachelor's degree in liberal arts. She met her future husband, Mark, while working at a religious school in Orlando. After college, they both continued their Jewish professional journeys. Rabbi Blatt attended two of the seminaries they received Torah Fund dollars, the Jewish Theological Seminary, Davidson School of Education, where she received her master's degree, and the Ziegler School of Rabbinical Studies, where she received her rabbinical ordination. Rabbi Blatt was also a recipient of Torah Fund scholarship while in rabbinical school. She's also the proud mother of Hannah, Tova, and Rafi. On Sunday, January 26, 2020, Rabbi Cheryl Peretz led the installation ceremony of our Rachel Blatt, Rabbi Perez, is the Associate Dean of the Ziegler School of Rabbinical Studies in American Jewish University in Los Angeles and the former teacher and mentor of Rabbi Blatt. Women's League and the Torah Fund are proud to support the education of the conservative movement. And Rabbi Blatt and her husband, Mark, proved that the Torah Fund campaign of Women's League dedicates itself to strengthening Jewish education. Rabbi Blatt brings to Kol Ami a wealth of experience and knowledge, and we at Kol Ami are thankful for the work that Women's League and Torah Fund do. Thank you.
Rabbi Blatt.
Boker Tov, everyone. Thank you so much for having me here this morning. I'm so excited to be able to be with you, to be able to study with you this morning. I was thinking we could start with thinking about a moment in your life, a time when you felt that God was instrumental in your healing, that without spirituality, you or a loved one wouldn't be where you or they are today. You don't have to say it out loud yet, but just think about a moment for a moment of a time where God was really instrumental in your healing. And you can continue to think about that if you'd like, but I also want you to think about a time when human intervention, doctors, nurses, modern medicine, etc., were the sole reason for recovery, without any mention of God or even thinking about spirituality of any kind. It could be anything from you threw some Neosporin on a cut to I have a cold, so I'll take some Dayquil. There was no thought. There was no, oh my gosh, I need healing here. Or it could be something as big as I was in a major car accident and the only thing that saved me were the doctors. And it didn't even occur to you to consider the words God or miracle or larger force or any of that. It was simply science. I'll put simply in quotation since we know that science isn't simple. But think about those two moments, those two concepts there for a moment. And now I'll ask if there's anybody who wants to share. You can share by unmuting. You can share in the chat.
Can I share? It's Shelley Gross.
Hi, Shelley.
So no matter how small my injury is, it's always linked to God because I was lucky. I have a mother that I adore. She's turning 98. But when I was very little, I slammed my finger in the drawer at her desk and I started to cry. And she immediately asked me, what did you do that God's punishing you? So it's almost impossible to unlink that connection. Mm-hmm. So I could honestly say that every injury I've ever had, the thought has gone through my mind briefly. But the answer today is that it's always been a partnership to get through whatever it is with both my doctors and my spirituality.
Great. Anyone else want to share a moment, an experience on either side of those?
Rachel, I can't pass this opportunity since someone who's very important to my life is on here. As most of you know, I'm a transplant patient, and I was fortunate to receive an organ from a living donor from your mother, who is on the call today. Renee is with us, and everything connected, my spirituality, my connection through my synagogue, since this decision was made standing at the synagogue at Beth Shalom, where you grew up, and obviously without the intervention of the healthcare professionals, together with all of these wonderful mitzvot, I wouldn't be here today the way I am.
One of the clear stories that I had from that experience was right after the surgery. I asked how everyone was doing, and my mom made a comment. Sorry, Mom, if I'm saying something I shouldn't, but you made a comment about, with some colorful words about your pain, and said, but Jeanette is leading Israeli dancing and singing Hallel to God over upstairs. She's doing a great job. She's doing great, feeling great. So thank you for sharing that. We all have different experiences with God as part of our partner. Anybody else who wanted to share before we keep going? Claire?
I'd suffered for 2 years from 7th grade to 9th grade with intermittent pain, abdominal pain. My parents took me to 3 different doctors who all agreed on the same diagnosis, saying it was a hard wall on one of my ovaries, and at ovulation, it caused this pain. In 9th grade, the pain came and it didn't stop, and it was not at ovulation. The 3 doctors made house calls and in those days. And I'd like to interject that Laurie Sukel and I are from the same hometown. We were both raised in Pittsfield, Massachusetts. So one doctor came to the house and said, it's a small cyst. It's a very easy surgery. Bring her in tonight. We'll do it tomorrow morning. 20 minutes, she'll be in and out. And my parents, living in this small city in business for themselves, didn't know which doctor to choose. They did not want to hurt any of the doctor's feelings. And so they decided, let's have all 3 of them there, even though they were told it was a very simple surgery. Well, halfway through the surgery, a nurse came down to tell my mother that if I survived the surgery, I would need nurses around the clock and that she better get working on getting them. So I say, because of these 3 surgeons who worked on me for 3.5 hours, I am alive. And that gives you the other, at that time, I wasn't even conscious to think of spiritual gratitude. I was out of it from Wednesday until Sunday. So it was the medical team that pulled me through.
Absolutely. And I think that we all know, living in 2020, that there has to be a little of both. It can't be all God or all medicine. But I want to explore how we got there, because clearly that hasn't always been the case, or hasn't always been the prime idea in Judaism. And many cultures have been debating this throughout history. And they continue to debate this in many places. How much human intervention should there be, and in God's plans for the world, right? So we're going to take a look at a few texts. Jeanette, am I allowed to share my screen? I should have asked that before.
Okay. I can turn my phone off, right?
Yeah. It's feeding back a little bit. I need to turn her off.
Trying, I can't get it to go off.
Okay. We're going to take a look at a few texts that you're going to see a screen that I did not intend to share, but we'll see it for just a moment. All right, can we all see that text sheet? All right, great. So we're gonna take a look at a few texts that come from the, we're gonna start with the Talmud. And they're gonna illustrate some of this debate that our ancestors had about the role of doctors and medicine in our world, and what wasn't and was appropriate, and who thought what, etc., how they got there. So the first text that we're gonna look at is a prayer that someone who is undergoing bloodletting should say before beginning. Of course, we don't do bloodletting now, but in ancient times, it was a practice where blood was removed from a sick person's body as therapy. And it was used up until recent times using leeches to suck out diseased blood. There is actually one very rare disease where it is still used, but generally not. But in the case of somebody who's about to go some sort of medical experience, this is what Rav Acha said to us. Can I make it larger? I can make it larger. Let me figure out how to do that.
You can pinch it out yourself and make it larger
I'm not
on the screen. No, each person can do it
Oh,
themselves.
that's true. Each person could do it. I made it really big. Is that too big?
No, that's great.
No, that's fine.
So Rav Acha said, one who enters to let blood, so someone who's about to do this bloodletting procedure, says, may it be your will, excuse me, O Lord my God, that this enterprise be for healing and that you should heal me, as you are a faithful God of healing and your healing is truth. Because it is not the way of people to heal, but they have become accustomed. What is Rav Acha saying? What's Rav Acha telling us? Rav Acha has a very specific stance here. Does Rav Acha believe that you should be doing this bloodletting? No, he does not think that this is what we should be doing.
Get your hand raised.
Oh, so I can't see everyone. I apologize. You're gonna have to.
And that's okay.
Talk.
Yeah, to me it says that this isn't normal. You know, this person is. He's saying if this is the person, I'm sick, and I know that it's not normal. That I should be well because being sick is what you ordained. But I'm asking you to please make me well.
Great, thanks, Karen. So exactly, this isn't what we're supposed to do, but it's what we do anyway because we know that this is what people are used to doing. So might as well go ahead and do it and ask God for healing anyway. If you were alive 1800 years ago when these texts were first written down, do you think you might have believed differently? Do you think that I'm guessing that most of us would say, oh no, like we shouldn't be doing this, but we're going to do it anyway. Most of us probably disagree with this text that medicine is helpful in our lives. If you were alive 1800 years ago, do you think you might have been on Rav Acha's side here?
May I say something at Shelley Gross? I'm pretty sure that the thought system in those days was that man was not to interfere with healing, and that God was the only one, both whether you were Jewish or whether you were Christian, the idea was that only God could heal you. But there were people like barber surgeons, not truly physicians even yet, who did this bloodletting. And like all peoples, the area that we lived in was something we adopted the customs of those people. And when you are worried that you'll try anything, this leeching, it had nothing to do with leeching as much as it had to do with the strong belief in God really being the healer.
Right. This is about God being healing. But even though we're doing this modern thing, according to Rav Acha, the real healing is coming from God. That we're going to try anything, but we know that God's really doing the healing here. How do we feel about this?
Hi, this is Sherry. I personally think that it takes three of us, the doctor, God, and ourselves, to actually heal. Without all three, we may not be able to heal. Something will still be missing. So, Sherry, I'm going to let you teach the rest of the class. Is that okay? Exactly. So we're going to get to that point exactly because there is a lot going on when it comes to healing. So I think that Rav Acha actually already is adding in ourselves because Rav Acha is saying you can't just assume that God's going to do it. You have to actually say something. You have to actually say a prayer. And that's exactly where we're going to go, Sherry. Thank you. So
but already in the Talmud, because it's the Talmud, there's some sort of debate. And that's one of the reasons I love it. The Gemara continues right here. It just continues on with Abaye. So Abaye is actually the same time frame as Acha. One of them was in Babylonia. One of them was in Jerusalem. So we don't know if they actually met or if they just had these different opinions. So Abaye immediately comes along and says this. So Abaye responds and says, one should not say this prayer that Rav Acha just told us about, as it was taught in the school of Rabbi Yishmael, that from the verse, and you shall cause him to be thoroughly healed, coming from Exodus, from here we derive that permission is granted to a doctor to heal. The practice of medicine is in accordance with the will of God. So Abaye is telling us Rav Acha's not really correct. It's not just God, that people have become accustomed because God said, get yourself a doctor. So I want to take a look at this Exodus text because I want to know what this means. So usually when you read a Gemara text, they're just going to give you the punchline. You have to read the whole section to really understand the whole pasuk, the whole verse, to understand what is going on. So when they say, cause him to be thoroughly healed. So we look at Shmot, and here we have a situation that is explained. When men quarrel, or when women quarrel, when people quarrel, and one strikes the other with a stone or fist, and he does not die, but has to take to his bed, becomes severely ill or severely injured. If he then gets up and walks outdoors upon his staff, the assailant shall go unpunished, except that he must pay for his idleness. So you have to pay for the other person's loss of livelihood. If he missed work or something like that, you have to pay for that. And it says, Verope yirape, he will surely be healed. Whenever we use the double word there in Hebrew, it means that even more so. So he will surely be healed. So what is this saying? Have we figured out how it works within Abaye's understanding?
The he refers to the assailant, I think. That he will lose his anger or whatever it was that caused the quarrel, and he struck the other man with his fist or his stone. But the cure is to the assailant, because he is the one who is experiencing the anger. The one who is injured is not angry. He's well because he is out walking on his staff. Right.
But they do have to pay for, so whatever injury he has to pay for, he has to pay for the any loss that the person who was injured incurred. If he missed work, he has to pay him back for that. If he had to get any kind of...
That's true, but that's just monetary stuff.
That's what they're talking about
but
here.
Cure deals more with spiritual.
Okay.
He will lose his anger. He will be a more giving, loving person.
I'm curious where you're getting the spiritual from. When it says rapo yirape, is that not talking about the injured person's injury?
Yes, but I'm perhaps I'm misreading it, but I thought that the he dealt with the assailant, and the payment to the injured was their version of assault without a deadly weapon.
Right. This is assault, and so there are lots of different ways to interpret this. I think that what they're trying to say is that, and I think that that's why we're wondering it. So this says, and you shall cause him to be thoroughly healed, is how this text translated verapo yirape. This text is translated as he will be cured. But the question then becomes, well, how is he being cured? And what does it have to do with payment, right? And that was a question that our rabbis asked. So we're going to continue down this line here. And oh no, I went too far. And we get to Talmud Bava Kama. So Bava Kama, talking about different ways in which people have to pay people back for various things, injuries and such. And Rabbi Ishmael says, and he shall be cured, using the same quote from Shmot, Kaf Aleph from 21. This means that permission was given to the doctor to heal. V'rapo Yirapeh means that he can go to the doctor, to the Rofeh. He can go to the Rofeh. It's the Hebrew word for doctor. Lirfot, to get healed. It's a fun language when they use the similar words to describe what they're doing. How do we feel about this one? Does this feel clearer?
Seems like a stretch.
Seems like a stretch. Why is that?
Well, which word came first, Yirapeh or Rofeh? Did they base the word for doctor on obviously on healed? So we don't know what came first. You know, obviously the derivation of the word doctor comes from the word healing, right? Because we see up above Yirapeh, it's the same word, right?
Right. So we could read this two different ways. We can read this as it's a repetition of one word, meaning that it'll be increased, so he will surely be healed. Or you can say that because he'll be going to a healer, that a healer will heal him, that a rapo will do the healing. So you can read it two different ways, and that's why text is so exciting, because every translation is an interpretation. So we have two different ways of looking at here, but either way, he's being cured somehow. And for the most part, our rabbis look at this as there are doctors, and doctors are given permission by God to do healing of some way. So I wanted to think about that a little bit. So if God is giving the doctors permission to heal, what is God's role in the healing?
May I speak?
Yes, like I can't see everyone, so go ahead.
I don't think it's a question of God giving permission for the doctor to heal, so much as the doctor is the agent of God in the healing process.
Great. So that is exactly what I would believe. And I debated whether we go down that road of free will and people acting as God's agents and the whole theology and theological discussion there. But very often we say that God inspires us to do different kinds of work, and to do different kinds of acts in the world, that we are God's agents in the world to do God's work, that God giving us free will does not have the power to make us do things, but can inspire us and give us inspiration in our lives.
But also, before we go into surgery, we say a blessing, asking God to help the doctor, to strengthen the doctor's hand to make a successful healing. So it's not totally in the hands of the doctor in our eyes, but also it's a partnership with God.
Exactly. That it can't just be one or the other. It has to be combined in some way.
Rabbi, also, I've always believed that you hear of people that say, you know, if you're sick, it's God's will whether you live or die. Certain religions don't believe in medical intervention. However, my belief has always been that if God didn't want medical intervention, he wouldn't have given the doctors the ability to heal. He wouldn't have given scientists the ability to make medicine or scientists to make instruments for surgery. All of these things are, like you said, a partnership where God has given man and women, men, people, the ability to make the instruments, to make the medicine, to have the ability, to have the talent to do the surgeries, to make people well. So if God didn't want healing, why would he have put all of these people on earth to be able to do these things? As you said, a partnership. We're his agents. So I've always believed that is kind of like a false argument that, well, if it's not God's will. Well, it is God's will, because that's why all these people are on earth, to help people get better. So to me, that's a false argument, that that's not how God wanted it.
So I think that.
Can I say something?
Sure.
I think I agree to that too, but I'm a former nurse, and I also see many doctors who are out there who people think are healing, and they're not very good doctors. So I don't know how that fits in here, as well as sometimes when even good doctors do the best they can, it's not successful.
So that's exactly where I was going to go, because there are a lot of things that we say. There are many different sayings that we find comforting in times of uncertainty or times of loss or illness, that are helpful to us, but problematic theologically. So a very simple example of this that will stretch into our conversation is the difference between having the freedom of speech and the responsibility of speech. By saying that someone is in a better place now, it means that this place wasn't good enough for them. And so I try to avoid saying something like that when someone has died, or saying that, oh, well, at least you're young and you can still go and have more children, or something like that. Well, what about the child that someone lost? That's still a loss. So we have a lot of those little things. And I think here in this example also, that God did give us the ability to heal, that God did give us all of these tools, that we have discovered them, but we still have to act with responsibility to be using the right thing at the right time, because otherwise we have a little too much power, I guess we could say. And there are a lot of these that can come up that will make us feel good, that'll make us feel like, oh, someone's doing the right thing, but we have to actually think through all the different consequences of that. But here in our text, we see that we have this idea that we don't want to give full power to doctors, that God has something to do with it, but we allow them, from Rav Acha's point. And we have Abaye, who says, well, it is God, but the doctors have to help. So they both have a little bit of the other within it. They're not going completely to one side. And I think that that is exactly where we should go, because I think that we all agree. I think we discovered that from the beginning, that there is some sort of a partnership. There's a partnership between the two. But I want to know what it means to actually, for doctors and for religion to work together, for you to have both. Why is it so important to have both at the same time, and how can they work together? So there is an article written by Dr. Christina M. Puchalski. She's from George Washington Institute for Spirituality and Health. And she tells us that there are some studies that indicate that those who are spiritual tend to have a more positive outlook and a better quality of life. For example, she says, with patients with advanced cancer who found comfort from their religious and spiritual beliefs, were more satisfied with their lives, were happier, and had less pain. Results of a pain questionnaire distributed by the American Pain Society to hospitalized patients showed that personal prayer was the most commonly used non-drug method of controlling pain. 76% of the patients made use of it. In this study, prayer as a method of pain management was used more frequently than intravenous pain medication, pain injections, relaxation, touch, and massage. And of course, the study notes that pain medication is very important and should be used, but it's worthwhile to consider other ways to deal with pain as well. So just from this idea that you have some sort of spirituality in your life, that it already has an effect on that spirituality already has an effect on your healing. And so Dr. Pachalski actually goes further and suggests that doctors routinely practice compassionate presence, be fully present and attentive to their patients, and they're supportive to them in all their suffering, physical, emotional, and spiritual, that they listen to patients' fears, hopes, pain, and dreams, that they obtain a spiritual history of the person, that they be attentive to all dimensions of patients and their families, body, mind, and spirit, that they advise them to incorporate spiritual practices as appropriate for that person. And of course, my favorite, involving chaplains as members of the interdisciplinary healthcare team, that the chaplain's role in hospital care is so important. I often joke when watching shows like Grey's Anatomy, where are all the chaplains? They need some in that space, because they are an integral part of the healing process. So we see this idea that throughout our text, times where God suggests that you can get help from doctors and healers. And we see a lot of times as well the incorporation of biology and medicine in our prayers. So I wanted to share one of my favorites with you, which is, yes, I have a favorite prayer for this. It is known as the bathroom prayer because it's supposed to be said after you first relieved yourself in the morning. But I find this to be an appropriate prayer for any post-surgery experience. I actually said this prayer immediately after giving birth. And once we read it together, I think you'll understand why. So take a look here. And we call it the Asher Yatzar. It says, blessed are you, Adonai, our God, King of the universe, who formed man with wisdom and created within him many openings and many hollow spaces. It is obvious and known before your seat of honor that if even one of them would be opened, or if even one of them would be sealed, it would be impossible to survive and to stand before you even for 1 hour. Praised are you, Adonai, who heals all flesh and acts wondrously. What is going on here?
Maybe that's why some people call it sitting on the throne.
Sorry?
I said maybe that's why some people call it sitting on the throne, because of this prayer.
Because of this prayer, perhaps.
Hi, this is Deborah Letow. I like this prayer, and it's just that the rabbis noticed that the body works a certain way, and if something happens inside that's not supposed to, it affects your health.
Exactly.
It's another thing is that until you've experienced post-surgery needing to urinate and needing to defecate, you do not understand this prayer. After having surgery, abdominal surgery, and the whole focus is on restoring these openings, it brings new meaning to this prayer.
It does, and that's why I think that I focused on it in the places where I did, but I think it could really be any even non-surgery time, where we realize that something as simple as a cut closing up and healing that scab is incredibly important, because otherwise you continue to bleed, right? That is able to open and close. And how miraculous is it that something as simple as that, something we've been experiencing our entire lives. Certainly my children have lots of boo-boos. And we go through this every time, where they wonder, well, oh my gosh, what's gonna happen? Well, it's gonna close up. It just happens like that. But what happens when that can't? What happens when something that has been opened or is sealed incorrectly?
This is Lori. If I can just make a comment.
Absolutely.
Okay. I first learned this prayer at Camp Ramah, and it was on the occasion of, well, let me tell the backstory. We went to Camp Ramah in New England, which is in Palmer, Massachusetts, which is also the home of Tampax. Tampax is manufactured in Palmer, Mass. And I got the brilliant idea, since we used to go on field trips, that I would write a letter to the Tampax factory and see if we could have a tour. And we got a letter back saying, thank you very much, we don't do tours, but here are some samples. And they sent us enough to supply camp for at least the summer. So we all learned how to use tampons one summer. And we used this bracha. The counselor told us, as we were learning this, it was also a Shehecheyanu moment, but there was a special prayer that we could use, because this dealt nikavim, nikeva. This is what it dealt with. So that's how I learned this.
Funny.
Exactly.
That's funny.
I have heard a lot of different stories about this prayer, and I think every single one of them just points to how important it is and how many different meanings it has. When my first children were twins, and I gave birth at UCLA, and so they told me I had to be in the operating room, because if for some reason they needed to go into a C-section, they wanted to be ready. And so we had 1 million people in the room. We had the doctor, and we had all the interns, and then we had a nurse team for each baby and for myself. And birth stories, they're always crazy. And so there's, of course, many more details I'll leave out. But one of the things I was really thoughtful about, as my husband handed me my paper that I had this printed on, and I was not very conscious, and I wasn't really, I was thinking about the fact that they handed me my babies for like a second and then said they have to go somewhere else because they were 4 weeks early and they were small, and one of them had to go to the ICU. And so one of the things I wasn't thinking about was not what parts were opening or what wasn't opening or what was, but the fact that we were ready in case something didn't work the way it was supposed to. We could be ready for another way, that we can open something that doesn't usually open in many different layers, in order to heal, and then let them seal back up again in the way that they're supposed to. And I was just so grateful for that experience, that we have that knowledge, that we can, even though our body is created in a specific way that it's not supposed to open or close at certain times, that we live in a world where we can work with God to help make our body still work. I think that's just so incredible. And so I want to now add in that last piece of bringing in the third person, that bringing in ourselves. Because we've said prayers, and we call doctors if we need, we call on God if we need, but I think that there's one other element, and that is from our prayer for healing. And we say this as part of our weekday Amidah. There is a section where you can add a prayer for healing, but I wanted to take a look at the prayer that we have for healing in our Lev Shalem Siddur that we add on Shabbat. because I think that there's a few different elements here that that make this prayer special. So we say, may the one who blessed our ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah, bring healing and blessing and healing to all those who are ill, restore them to health and vigor, granting them physical, spiritual, and physical well-being, together with all others who are ill, and may God grant strength to those who tend to them. And I think that there's so many different people involved here to think that we're not just praying for one person and their physical health, we're thinking about their spiritual health as well. That it might not just be a physical ailment that they have, that they might have a spiritual and emotional well-being that is not at 100%, that they might need support in lots of different places, and that we're granting strength to those who tend to them. And that could be the doctors who are helping with specifically their recovery, but it could also include all of the nurses who are in those roles, any EMTs along the way who got the person to where they needed to be in the appropriate way. People who are staying home with their loved ones or visiting them in the hospital when you're able to visit people in the hospital. Hopefully we'll be able to do that again soon. Or who are home with them and helping them redress wounds or helping them make sure that they have the medication that they need and are taking care of them in that way. And all the people who are taking care of them, because we know that it's not just one person that takes care of one other person, that we have an entire community.
It's a village, right?
It takes a village. It takes our entire community to help, to hold each other up, to help heal each other in lots of different ways, that within those circles of care, we're all reaching in, that we're all reaching in, not just to the person in the center, but to the person who's right outside, who's helping as well. And that we're all part of this healing process. And that with God's help, we can lift each other up and we can heal each other biyachad. Thank you so much.
Rabbi Rachel, there's a lot written about the mind-body connection.
Absolutely.
The importance of that. And what's interesting is the great physician, Greek physician, Hippocrates, known as the father of medicine. First, do no harm, the Hippocratic Oath. Mm-hmm. What he said was the role of the physician is to amuse the patient long enough for their bodies to heal itself. Mm-hmm. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah. You know, there's so much we could have talked about. I know that there's way more than we could have covered in 40 minutes together. But this was just a teaser. We can always continue. And I know that you're gonna learn a lot with Rabbi Uppin as well. There was a whole other section in the conversation of spirituality and care about how often when people come in with some sort of ailment, a lot of it has to do with stress, that it's become more intense because of stress. But I'm gonna let Rabbi Danielle cover that part of it. And I just want to thank you for having me this morning. Toda Rabah. It's wonderful to learn with you. Thank you for all of your stories and your sharing. I really appreciate it.
Rabbi Blatt, we want
to
thank you very much. We have had a request if you could share the source sheets.
Absolutely.
Could you just send them to me and I will share them?
I'm going to do that, and I'm also going to put a link in the chat.
Oh, okay. If you have a link, that would be even better. That's wonderful. Thank you so much, everyone. This is one of our graduates of 2 of our seminaries. We do have a couple minutes if there are any questions for Rabbi Blatt.
I'd just like to say I'm going into the hospital early tomorrow morning, and I can't tell you how good this has been for me. Thank you, Rabbi.
Of course, Refuah Shlema.
Refuah Shlema, Helene.
Yes, Rabbi Blatt, this is Kathy Swerdlow. One comment I have is I know that when I have been recovering from major issues, whether they be, loss or injury or surgery, the strength that I felt when I received cards or calls. I mean, I think that is, kind of the spirituality in action, and how how impactful that is to someone's recovery when others reach out and just let them know that they're thinking about you.
Absolutely. There is a great book that I love. It's called, oh, I wish I could remember what it's called. I think it's called something like There's No Good Card for This. But it's about kind of that idea that I was talking about before. There are some things that we say that make us, feel good in that moment, or it might feel right for that experience. Many people, when I had twin infants, would say, "Oh, God knew that you could handle it," and I was going, "I don't want to handle this. One would have been fine. I'm really tired." And so hearing that makes us feel good, but doesn't always work for the person on the other side. And there's a lot of those that do help. And so just knowing that somebody is caring about you, is thinking about you, does a lot for our soul. Exactly.
Hi. Hi, this is Sue Gerland. I just want to offer that I'm offering a healing circle tonight on Zoom at 7 o'clock. And the theme is healing from uncertainty. So anybody who would like to join us is very welcome to do so. You can email me or put in the chat, and I'll send you the link. Thank you.
Thank you, Sue.
Any other questions, comments? This has been wonderful, Rabbi Blatt. Thank you so much. We hope we'll be able to have you join us at some point in the future. I know occasionally some of us have joined in on your classes now that everything's on Zoom. I did hear from one person here today that she even joined your evening minyan to be able to say Kaddish, since there are not a whole lot of evening minyans around. So there are silver linings that we talk about with COVID, and these are some of them. I do want to follow up on Kathy's comments about cards. It's a perfect segue for me to get this little plug in there. I recently, as some of you know, had surgery, and the Torah Fund cards that came were amazing. My husband brought them to the hospital every day and throughout my healing, and they certainly helped in my healing. As you know, the Torah Fund office is currently closed, as it is located in JTS, which is closed, and the staff who are working remotely do not have access to the cards. So we are asking that if your sisterhood has an overabundance of cards, to please let me know. I've been sharing the stock that I have with sisterhoods that are running out of cards. But we know that some of you may have stockpiles. So if you'd let me know if you have some that you can share with other sisterhoods. We're doing this all over Women's League, and it's working successfully. And we've already done this a little bit within Florida region, but there's a lot of Torah Fund cards out there being unused, and we're more than happy to try to connect you with them. Okay. So right now we have scheduled a brief virtual bathroom break. Don't forget to keep stay on mute if you're going to use your bathroom. But in the meantime, I think we're going to have a little treat with some video and music that Sharon's going to be putting on for us. So we will reconvene in 5 minutes. Please don't leave us. And Miriam was no weaver. That was from our international convention this summer.
לשוני מרע ושפתיך מדבר מרמה מדבר מרמה ואם כללי נפשי נפשי תדור מנפשי כעפר לכל תהיה פתח ליבי בתורתך ובמצוותיך תרדוף נפשי פתח ליבי בתורתך ובמצוותיך תרדוף נפשי יהיו לרצון אמרי מהיום ליום ליבי לפניך אדוני צורי וגואלי צורי וגואלי צורי וגואלי פתח ליבי בתורתך ובמצוותיך תרדוף נפשי 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 תרדוף נפשי.
Welcome back, everyone. I hope you had a chance to hear some of that. That's a brand new recording.
Oh, that was gorgeous.
From
Gorgeous.
Rabbi Danielle that was released just several weeks ago. And I hope that you will go on. If you go on the website of Congregation Beth Shalom and you click on the clergy, you will see the link to Rabbi Danielle's music. I mentioned early on that we're joined today by two of Sherry Sukel's daughters, by both of her daughters, by Deborah and by Lori. And Lori is going to spend a couple minutes, as you already heard from Debbie Kenner Golditch, her own personal recollections of Sherry. Many of us have those recollections, but we'd love to hear now from Lori a little bit more about her mother and her connection to Torah Fund as well.
Good morning, everybody. Boker Tov and Chodesh Tov. It's finally Cheshvan. We made it through Tishrei. We made it through all the holidays. We're back at Bereshit, starting again and moving forward. And in the interest of equal time, I want to share a picture of my dad, because everybody knows that my dad was the one who did all the reading every time emails came in from Torah Fund or from Sisterhood or from Women's League. It was always my dad who had to read all the emails and tell my mom what was there, because she was not very computer savvy. She got there eventually. But in the interest, since we were showing baby pictures, I thought you might want to see a picture of my dad when he was very, very young. So there he is. And I don't know, I think my sister looks like him. What do you think, Deb? Okay, so I thought I would do like a little more show and tell kind of thing, just to let people see a different side of my mom. You all know the Torah Fund side of her. You all know that there was Sherry's way and the wrong way. And the way things were done was the way that she thought they should be done. I know that she mentored many of you, and I've heard from some of you through chat today that she taught you your jobs, how to do various things within Women's League. And that, to me, is the biggest praise, because having retired just a few years ago from a 30-year career as a teacher, and my sister also having worked in the public schools and been a teacher for several years, we know what it is to be taught well. And my mother taught us well. Even though she just had a high school education, she always said that Women's League was her university. That's where she learned more about Judaism. And she would have loved these study days. They were among her favorite events. Of course, anything related to Torah Fund was her favorite event. But someone mentioned the calendar before, and this is the calendar. It was the last one that she was alive to see. And there she is, honored by Florida Region, November of 2017. One of the things, it was funny because we've just been through, like I said, the month of Tishrei. My year has always started in the fall. My birthday is in September. The high holidays always fell in September, October. The school year started then. My bat mitzvah anniversary was Shabbat Shuvah, in between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. I just celebrated my 55th bat mitzvah anniversary by chanting the Haftarah. And it's also now the month that I remember my parents, because they died just within 3 weeks of each other 2 years ago. So their yahrzeits are both in Tishrei. And as we were all Zooming or live streaming our services on Erev Rosh Hashanah, my sister texted me to tell me that Ruth Bader Ginsburg had died. And I didn't pay much attention to it at first because I was Zooming and shul hopping between Pittsfield and Miami and other places. But afterwards it caught up with me. And the first thing I thought was, like I'm sure all of us did, what a loss for our country and what a loss for women. And the second thing that entered my mind was, my mother will invite Ruthie for Break the Fast. That was literally the second thing that came to my mind when I thought, you know, where's she going to go for Break Fast? Of course, my mother will be the first one there to say, you're coming by me. And I know we talked last year about her cooking and her baking, and her rugelach became the star of the show. Sadly, there are no more rugelach in her freezer. But she did write a letter to Ruth Bader Ginsburg at one point back in 1995. And as we were going through her papers and cleaning out documents and things in her closet, I think my sister or Steve came across the letter that she had received back from Justice Ginsburg. And she was very proud of it. She was thrilled. She had written to her, I don't recall about what, but she was appreciated for her nice note. And Justice Ginsburg sent back some remarks from a tribute to Raoul Wallenberg that she had made November 2nd of 1995, a ceremony that was held in the rotunda of the Capitol. So all of these things have been on my mind, things coming together. We're starting again from the top. And now that my parents' yahrzeits have passed, my grandmother was also a couple of great aunts and uncles in Tishrei. Now that it's Cheshvan, we have no Jewish holidays, but we have secular holidays. We have, holidays that everyone shares, Thanksgiving, many people who celebrate Halloween, although trick or treat will be very different this year. And I think my mom and my dad too would be very happy to know that Jewish life is still going on. It looks different, it feels different, but it's still happening. And my mother would be very upset that we do not have our Torah Fund pins yet, because next to Ellen Gall, I think my mother was the only other person who passed out the pins to everybody she met. And I couldn't help but think that if she had pins with her at that break fast, that we would see pictures now of the notorious RBG in her black robes with her different various collars that she wore, and there would be a biyachad pin on her robe. And I think that would be a very fitting tribute to my mom. So one more thing that I have, and I know that Claire will like this, if Claire Zimmers is still here. This is Knesset Israel, our shul in Pittsfield. This is a needlepoint that my mom made, which now hangs in my house. And this is where my sister was married. There's a lot of history there for us. And because my shul had pre-recorded Rosh Hashanah services, I watched the live stream from Pittsfield. And I looked to see who was in my parents' seats. And there are people from B'nai Torah who tell me that if they see somebody now go to my mother's seat, it makes them cringe. It's her seat. But we're at Bereshit and Meirosh. Things go on and we start anew. So I just want to say thank you to everyone for being here, for studying about healing, which is something that we all need. Many of you were there for my mom and for my dad toward the end when they both needed healing. And it was I think for Deborah and me, that so many of you did send us cards and greetings and calls. And I hope we've been able to reciprocate in kind to those of you who have needed us over the past few years. So thank you very much, and may we continue as the fabulous Florida region and the rest of Women's League to go from strength to strength. And blessings to everybody, and thank you for remembering my mom and making the study of Torah and Judaism a priority in our region, and by carrying on with these days of study. Thank you.
Lori, thank you so much. Yashar Kocheh. That's a wonderful tribute, as well as an opportunity that I didn't expect that you taught us and shared in the way you did. Thank you so much. I am moving on to introduce our next teacher. Rabbi Danielle Uppen is the Associate Rabbi and Prayer Leader at Congregation Beth Shalom in Clearwater, as well as a community educator for the Jewish Federation of Florida's Gulf Coast. Originally from New York City, she attended Barnard College and received her ordination from the Jewish Theological Seminary in 2002. Rabbi Uppin shares her music and love of Judaism, her music, which we just heard a little bit of, and her love of Judaism with students of all ages. She's a certified yoga instructor and interweaves Jewish meditation and yoga into her classes. Her musical release, Reveal the Light, a compilation of Hebrew chants, is a celebration of Jewish and universal prayer. She's thrilled to have recently released 2 new singles and accompanying music videos, Sim Shalom and Open My Heart. Rabbi Uppin resides in Clearwater, Florida with her husband and co-rabbi, Rabbi David Weitzman, and their 4 children. That's her formal bio. That tells you how multi-talented she is. But most importantly, to me, Rabbi Danielle is a dear friend and a teacher. She's had a profound influence on my daughter, Shoshana, who graduated from List College at JTS. From the day she arrived in Clearwater, looking much like the teenagers she met in those days. And 18 years later, she's not too different, doesn't look too different today. A new rabbi at that time with her rabbi husband and no children in tow yet. She encouraged us all to learn Torah and practice Judaism in many different ways and teaches to students of all ages. I've watched in these years their 4 children grow into beautiful young adults. Well, one's not quite there as a young adult yet, but now take this opportunity to listen and enjoy learning from my dear friend and teacher, Rabbi Danielle Uppin.
Thank you, Jeanette. That was quite the introduction. So I want to begin by saying that I want to thank Lori for your beautiful words about your mom, and to Debbie, who's also on this call. I understand. I just want to tell you both. And actually, sorry, my dog's all barking in the background. I don't know if anyone could hear that. Let me just shut the door 1 second. It's always like that. The dog starts to go crazy. Anyway, I wanted to say that I did know Sherry had Sukel. May her memory be for a blessing. I had the opportunity to meet her, to study with her, and I always just felt like whenever she came to my JTS classes when I was the Florida Fellow, she just lit up the room. And of course, Torah Fund was just associated with her. You can't say Torah Fund without seeing Sherry's face and her beautiful energy. And when I had met her, she was already quite frail, but she was mighty in spirit. And when I heard of her passing, I was very saddened to hear that. And but I carry her in my heart, and I have wonderful, wonderful memories. And I think it is just so appropriate to have this day of study be in her memory. There's so many people on this call I'm just so happy to see. And I hope you know you are my former students, collaborators from the JTS days. That was like my favorite time, going over and being able to study with you all. Shelley and Helene is on this call, and Sue, partner in spiritual crime, and my mom is here, and all my friends from CBS, and I just feel like this is wonderful, just really, really wonderful. And if I'm not saying your name, you know, all of you by name, just if we've met and I know you, thank you for being here and supporting this session, and this is wonderful, especially our leaders from Women's League. I see Kathy here, and I'm sure there are others as well. I'm just very, very delighted. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen in a moment. But what I wanted to, I also can't move on without thanking Rabbi Blatt for her beautiful teaching this morning. I'm already feeling more aware of my body and spirit because of what she said. And that bathroom prayer is definitely one of my favorites. It's a good one. It's a good one to put up on your, bathroom door on the outside. Then you'll never forget to say it. Okay. So what I was called to do here this morning is to share with you some teachings about, a session that I developed called Stay Calm and Carry On, right? Or Keep Calm and Carry On. Some Jewish texts that could help us to stay focused, balanced, calm, de-stressed. This is a spiritual practice. Everything I'm telling you, it's a practice, okay? So I've not reached any state of, high level nirvana or anything. I'm not the most calm person in the world, but I have access to wonderful, wonderful texts, and I go back to them. I go back to these teachings, and so I share them with you. And even after today, if you want to continue talking about them or dialoguing about them, or want to know more about how to bring this practice into your life, I could speak with you about that. So here we go. I'm going to share my screen. All right. Does everyone see the document? Okay. So again, I can't see everybody. If you have comments along the way, please just jump in. Okay. You can unmute and ask. What I wanted to present to you this morning is I call it Bima, the Bima, right? Because we understand what that metaphor is, to go up on the Bima, all right? But Bima is an acronym. A Bima is the platform. So I'm calling this elevate. How do you elevate your own platform? Sometimes we feel like maybe we're drowning and we're just like, nothing's working. We're having a bad day. You keep this image of you're going up to the Bima. All right, that shouldn't be a stressful thing. If it is, then don't worry about that image. But the idea of elevating your spirit and that feeling that you have, like, when you want to have when you open the ark, for instance, that's kind of like a low stress type of aliyah, right? Just something that's, you're going to garner all your strength and you're going to use all of your resources. You may even smile because like it feels like holy work, sacred work. Okay. When you also know people are counting on you to do something like special on the Bima, right? It puts us in a different mindset. So I'm just putting that out there as an image, although Bima for me really just stands for these 4 things: breath, inner tune-up, meaning, and attitude. Okay, and especially an attitude of gratitude. All right, there's a lot going on here. I will do my best to get through all 4 stages. I've already cut into my own time, so I want to be able to get through it, and we'll see how it goes. Okay, so the first thing is breath. There's nothing more essential, nothing more fundamental than breath. I invite you all right now, okay? You're all breathing. Baruch Hashem, we're all breathing all the time. That's why we're still here. But the moment we bring our consciousness to our breath, something happens, okay? We're able to use that mindfulness, it's called, right? The mindful attention, careful, loving attention to our breath, and it allows us to calm down. More than anything else, I'm going to tell you, is just that moment when you go ahead, do it with me. Take a nice deep inhale. Exhale. Let's do it 2 more times, okay? Deep inhale. Exhale. Feel your shoulders relax. Without trying, just nice inhale. Feeling the breath, energize, oxygenated breath in your body, and then exhale. Some of you may feel more relaxed already and you're good. You don't even need to continue on with this session. But let's talk about what is this breath and what is spiritual about the breath and how is it calming? Well, we just finished Parshat Breshit, and we're in Noach now. But in Breshit, we learn about the creation of the first human. God created the first human out of the dust of the earth, but also created us by breathing. But this verse here from Genesis, Vayitzar Adonai Elohim et Adam afar. God created us from afar min adama. We're earthlings. We're creaturely creatures, but not just, because God, Vayipach be'apav nishmat chayim, Vayi Adam lenefesh chaya, that God breathed into us that animated breath of life. And that's when we truly became human. Every time we breathe, we are breathing into that first breath of Adam, the first humans created breath that was breathed through all of the generations that is breathed to us today. When we breathe, we are connecting our breath to all of the breath of life. We are connecting our breath to the outer edge of the universe and into the most inner edge of our own cellular universe. So I want to ask you to join with me one more time in a deep breath this time. I want you to feel, you could even open your heart up, lift your arms up in the air and breathe as if you are breathing from the outer edge of the universe. And then drawing that breath into your own soul, exhaling from the deepest part of your own essential self and out into the world. Now that's a breath. That's a breath. We are breathing and connecting to the first human. We are breathing and connecting to absolutely everybody. The trees, the grasses, the animals. These days of COVID, I know some of you are thinking, it's like, oh my God, it's hard to take a deep breath. It's hard. You feel like you don't even want to, like you don't want to breathe on somebody. You don't want anyone to breathe on you. And breath has become sort of problematized. We need to reclaim our breath for healing. Not a doctor, okay? But at least for spiritual healing, to be able to calm ourselves using that very spiritual connected tool of our own breath, owning that and feeling good about it, positive about it, okay? So that takes me into the second text that is one of my favorites. Some of you who have been studying with me for a long time have probably seen this one before. It is a Hasidic text from the Kedushat Levi, and it's actually from one of his teachings on Rosh Hashanah. So it's a Hasidic text. And the quality here is not so good when I copied and pasted the PDF, but I'll do my best to share it with you, even though it's blurry. So this text is about the sacredness of breath and the precariousness of breath, okay, the gift of breath. So the Rebbe talks about here that we must always bring to our consciousness from moment to moment, rega la rega. Can you say that with me? Because it's like a mantra here. Rega la rega, rega la rega. Rega la rega means from moment to moment. So from moment to moment, the Rebbe says, we bring to our consciousness the blessed Creator in great love and mercy instills in us a new vital force, chiyut chadash. Every time we breathe, we are connecting to a chiyut chadash, like an essential newness, a vital force. From moment to moment, the blessed Creator renews our very being. Okay? That is what the rabbis meant when they said, Kol neshama talel ya hallelujah. That comes from Psalm 150. Kol ha-neshama tehalel ya, hallelujah. With every soul breath, we praise God. But what does this really mean, the rabbi said? That at each moment, the breath seeks to leave us, and the Holy One in great mercy watches over us from moment to moment and has compassion for us and does not let that breath depart. Just pause there for a second. If you've had asthma, okay, God forbid, or pulmonary issues. If perhaps you've been at the bedside of someone who is dying, you know what I'm talking about. That there's that moment when the breath goes out of the body and it's like, by the grace of God, we inhale again. That's what this teaching is saying. Literally, by the grace of God, when we exhale, we inhale again. And when that inhale comes back, that is the blessing, that is the gift of life, and that is the gift of renewal. And so when we inhale, after that exhale, we can inhale again. Try it with me. Let's everybody exhale. Inhale first. Exhale. Now, if you're still with me, you just inhaled again. You didn't have to do anything. You didn't have to try. It just happens. All right? That's anatomy. That's living. We're living. But it's not just living from this Hasidic perspective, from the spiritual perspective. When we breathe in again, we're actually being renewed. And you know, some of you know very well, in our morning prayers, we say, that God in God's goodness renews creation day after day. Well, this takes that teaching radically, even further by saying not just day after day, not just month after month, we're in Rosh Chodesh, that's wonderful. Not just year after year, with the start of the new year, but minute to minute, kol rega l'rega, moment to moment, we have the ability to reconnect with the newness of life. And so we are created anew, and we are blessed anew, and we are revitalized. And so the Rebbe goes on to say there are people who don't realize this, and they're walking around and they're in a bad mood and they're ungrateful and they're upset.
No sound?
In the meantime, I don't see, Barbara Esring, are you here?
I am.
Do you want to just say a few words about it, right, begin your words right now about Torah Fund?
I'm happy to. It will only take
Not to
me
put
about,
you on the spot or anything.
no, it'll only take me about four minutes. So if you would like me to speak now, I'm
Barbara
happy.
Esring is our International Women's League for Conservative Judaism Torah Fund chairperson, and we were going to be doing this a little bit later, but I'd like to introduce her and welcome her. She's currently in Norfolk, Virginia, where her husband is serving as an interim rabbi. And the links are back up for donating to Torah Fund or to creating new spaces. Barbara.
Wonderful. Thank you. Well, I want to thank all of you for inviting me to share this amazing day. This is the first time I have participated, although I did live in Florida about 26 years ago. But Rabbi Blatt and Rabbi Uppin, they're the reason that we give to Torah Fund year after year. So I would like to tell you a story. In 2008, I took a trip to New York. I participated in the Women's League Leadership Institute. The program started at the Jewish Theological Seminary in the Women's League Seminary Synagogue, Willis. This was my first visit back to JTS since 1978, when my husband was ordained by JTS. Back then, there was no Willis. That space was the library's reading room. Now, Willis is a beautiful, quiet space to pray or to learn or to meet. Willis's windows face Broadway and the subway tracks as they rise from the ground to the elevated platform. And yet, it is quiet in Willis. I've traveled back to New York on many occasions since 2008, and each time my first stop for any Women's League meeting or training was in Willis. What an honor for me to lead the Mincha service for Women's League several times. What an honor for me to be called to the Torah for an Aliyah, and I have a photo of that event. What an honor for me to be invited to pray with the cantorial students at their exclusive Wednesday morning Shachrit service. And who led the service that morning that I was there? A cantorial student I have known since birth, my son, Gil Ezring. After the service, we had the chance to talk with students, and each of them had a story to tell, and each story related to Torah Fund. So today, I'm honored to tell you one of Cantor Gil Ezring's stories. He said, "Before I began studying at JTS, I thought, my dad's a rabbi, I know all this stuff. On day one, I realized how wrong I was. I knew nothing. In that moment, I had a choice to make. I could either be depressed and feel like I wasn't good enough to be there, or I could buckle down and learn everything I could in my time at JTS. This made it easier, but I'm sorry. This was made easier for me through the help of Women's League and Torah Fund. You helped me by renovating and modernizing the first dorm I lived in, Goldsmith Hall, as well as providing a warm and welcoming prayer space. Torah Fund took away some of the stress of the JTS tuition. Without Women's League and Torah Fund, my time at JTS would have been much harder and darker. Thank you for helping train and educate the next generations of Jewish leaders, unquote. Torah Fund is so much more than our beautiful pins, our greeting cards, and the facilities we've created and renovated. Torah Fund is about scholarships and programming at JTS, Ziegler School of Rabbinic Studies, Schechter Institute of Rabbinic Studies, Seminario Rabbinico Latino Americano, and Zacharias Frankel College. Torah Fund is about supporting our students as they maintain their pre-pandemic high academic standards while studying remotely. Torah Fund is rabbis like Rabbi Blatt and Rabbi Uppen, cantors, educators like Lori Sukel, Hillel directors, hospital and military chaplains, and lay leaders who give us the support and spirituality that we need in challenging times. Our fundraising campaign is a true grassroots project. Our chief fundraisers are you, our Sisterhood Torah Fund chairs and vice presidents. Our donors are you, our sisterhood and synagogue members. Thank you for your efforts, especially during the last 8 months. You replaced your usual in-person events with virtual fundraising events. Thank you for your donations beyond your usual giving amount. I want to wish you a mazel tov on a successful Chesed Torah Fund campaign for Florida region. And Hatzlacha. I wish you much success as we work biyachad together on the 2020-2021 Torah Fund campaign.
Thank you, Barbara. And thank you for joining us today. We will get back to a little bit more about Florida Region Torah Fund a little bit later, but Rabbi Danielle is back.
All right, we'll try this again. Sorry. I guess who knows why these things happen. But that was a great plug about Torah Fund. So thank you for being able to continue with the program. I'm going to move on from breathing, from the breath, even though there's more to say about that. I want to move on to the second part. So we go from breath to inner tune-up. Okay, inner tune-up is what I like to talk about is like the inner dialogue. Okay, one of my spiritual teachers, Fred Johnson, who's a jazz artist and he's Sufi, but also like sort of a universal teacher. He says, "As one speaks, so we are." I don't think he originated it. I think I've heard it in other places too, but it is. As we speak, so we are. I'm going to anchor that in the Jewish tradition and then talk about it, what that means for us. Baruch she'amar v'haya ha'olam baruch hu. We say in our morning liturgy, God, Baruch Shamar, blessed is the one who spoke and the world was created. Again, a Genesis reference, God said, let there be light, and there was light. That points us to the power of words. It points us to the power of speech, that when we speak, the Hebrew word for a word, davar, also is the same word for thing. So when we speak, we are creating things, actual living, breathing things. Okay, with substance. Baruch Shamar. So blessed is the one who spoke and created the world. So too, we are creating God's image. When we speak, we could be conscious of the kinds of things we're saying, not just out loud, but also to ourselves. How do we speak about ourselves, and what does the dialogue sound like in our own minds? Okay. The heavens declare, this is from the Psalms. Yom liyom yabia omer v'layla l'layla yecha v'da'at. Day to day make utterances, night to night speaks out. There is no utterance, no words whose sound goes unheard. What we say, what we articulate, it goes out into the world. So I want to share with you 2 tips to work with. Okay. The 2 tips for breath work was 1, notice the breath, pay attention to the breath. Okay. And thinking about our breath as it goes out from the edge of the universe into us, and thinking about our breath as constantly renewing us. Okay. What are the tips for being calm with respect to the inner tune-up? Okay. There are expressions that we use, but they actually could be toxic. All right. When we think about it. Think about a meeting that you have to attend, all right, that you're thinking about attending, that you're asked to attend. All right, let's say it's a programming meeting for Torah funds, okay? This is from John DeMartini, The Breakthrough Method. It's a really great book about self-actualizing, okay? He's not Jewish, but I love how he puts this. He says, when you're asked to go to that meeting, that programming meeting for Torah funds, what you need to say there is, I would love to go. I would love to attend. Nothing would make me happier. Even if you feel maybe you don't want to, what would you love to attend? Maybe there's something about that meeting that you would love to attend. Maybe it's to see someone. Maybe it's to share your wisdom. Maybe it's to connect with the broader Jewish community. Maybe you would love to support Torah study and teachers and students the world over. That is the highest level. If you say, well, I choose to go, I can choose that. That sounds very good. Like, we're taught to say what we choose to do, to take ownership and mastery over the things that we do. We choose. That's good. That's fine. It's just not as high of a level. Okay. Desire to. I thinking about it, I desire to do that. It's like comes from the heart. Yes, that's still good. It's just not as good as I would love to, right? That has the enthusiastic aspect. Now you're getting like onto the lower part of the scale. Well, I want to go. I want to go. Well, there are a lot of things I want to do, but I can't do everything that I want. Yeah. Well, okay. I need to go. I need to go to this meeting tomorrow. And then the worst one, I have to go to this meeting. I have to go to the Torah Fund meeting. Oh man, I have to go. How many times a day do you say about something you need to do or want to do or love to do, but you say, I have to go to this meeting. I have to pick up my kids. I have to get the drive. I have to do this. That is toxic. Okay. According to the DeMartini method, it's like very low level of thinking. All right. We want to raise ourselves up to, I would love to. Try it out. And if you can't get to, I'd love to, like if you feel like that's disingenuous, then try, I'd like to, or I want to, I choose to. Those are also high level. They keep your vibrational tone higher. All right, I want to take us into one little exercise as well about how we think about things, how our inner dialogue impacts the way we live. You're all on mute, okay? So if you feel safe to do this at home, otherwise it's an exercise you can do when you're all alone. Try singing your thoughts. This is another Fred Johnson special. Try singing your thoughts, okay? Even if they're negative, okay? I'm going to give you a fun example. It's serious, okay? Even when we have serious, upsetting thoughts, sometimes when we're saying them out loud, not muttering, but like bringing an art to them, writing them down is another way, okay? But if you can vocalize, like you are the star of your own Broadway one-woman show, okay? What kind of art can you create? What kind of edifying, something resounding, taking your thoughts up to a higher vibrational level can you create? For instance, let's say I just ate a piece of cheesecake, maybe it's Shavuos, and I'm feeling like I really should have only had one piece of cheesecake. Damn, why did I two? Gosh, I feel so fat today. I feel disgusting. Like, ew, what's wrong with me? I ate the cheesecake. It was delicious. I ate the cheesecake. I wish it was Jeanette's cheesecake. She makes it so good, but any cheesecake taste good. I'm gonna use the calories. I'm gonna do something good. I'm gonna burn the calories in my next workout. I'm gonna feel so good. Maybe next time I will choose an apple and peanut butter, whatever. But the thing is, getting ourselves to think more positively, and sometimes just turning it into a song. You'll find, I've had this, that you are your own one-woman show, that you're like, where's my manager? I got to book this right now because it's that good. So raising our vibration, we are vibrational beings, okay? Yeah, we have sad thoughts. Yeah, we have upsetting things that we're thinking about, of course. But when you can, to try to elevate the thoughts by bringing some positive word to it, or just even getting it out there, could be cleansing and healing and elevating. Okay. Jeanette, how are we for time? Do I have 5 minutes?
Well, you can have a little bit more since you got cut off. No problem, because we did part of the next session already. Keep going.
Got it. All right. I'm going a little faster than I normally would, just because I hope that you know, we could just stay together here. All right, going for meaning. All right, this is another theater reference from my teacher David Deblinger, from the Stella Adler studio. I was just studying with him, but it's very, very Jewish. He's also Jewish, so it's okay. Meaning is the fuel for doing. As Jews, we know this. We know this. Meaning is the fuel for doing. All right. If I had to ask you, what are your favorite, what's your favorite, let's just get a couple of answers here. You could even put in the chat. Actually, I can't see I could. Yeah. But if you want to unmute, what is your favorite Jewish ritual and why? Let's just get a few. You can unmute and call it out.
Saying the Shema.
Saying the Shema. Okay. And why?
I always feel like it brings me closer to God.
Yes.
Benching lech.
So keep going, yeah?
Benching lech.
Ah, right. Lighting the candles.
Same reason. All that. This just brings me right to Hashem.
Okay.
And
good.
I feel so connected.
Good.
Putting on my talit.
Putting on talit. Why?
Just feel like I'm just being wrapped up in God's arms.
Wow. It's a very spiritual group. Others, let's take a couple more.
When we say V'anachnu kolim and we bow our heads, and then we say Lifnei Melech and we lift our heads, it's the most incredible combination of complete subservience and arrogance, that we bow our heads and then we lift them up and look at God. And to me, that's the essence of being a Jew.
Was that Helene?
Yes.
Yep, I recognize that voice. Thank you. So beautiful. So well said. Does anyone have a ritual or, you know, a Jewish practice, or not even Jewish? It could be anything that you do because it was taught to you by a beloved teacher or a parent or grandparent or other relative?
I don't say fine because of what it stands for.
What do you mean?
Fine stands for fearful, insecure, neurotic, and emotional. So I don't say I'm fine. I say I'm okay. It's something that I learned back in high school.
That's great. Okay, good. So sometimes we learn something when we're young and it sticks. It sticks. And when we learn it at an impressionable age. Anybody have a recipe that they make and they think about the person who used to make it? Yeah. Okay, good. Anyone want to share what that recipe is? Like not the details, but for the what dish?
I will.
Yeah.
I make cheesecake.
Ah!
I make a cheesecake that my mother made all the time. And it's a very rich cheesecake. It takes a quart of heavy cream, 2.5 pounds of cream cheese, and an 8-inch cake. It has a slight citrus flavor because it has the zest of limes and lemons. And every time I make it, I think of my mother making this cheesecake. She's no longer with us. She died on Yom Kippur in the year 1988.
Oh, wow.
I make my
I have a brownie
Egla.
recipe. I have a brownie recipe that was my mother's,
and I have the index card with her handwriting on it. I have it wrapped in saran wrap to keep it. And every time I take it out, I think of her.
Great. Yeah.
When I make hamantaschen, I think of my mom and her pastry, and always.
Great, thank
I
you.
make my bubby's teglach, and I also have the pot that she used to cook the teglach and the gefilte fish. So I make both of those in that pot. That was my bubby's, and that's very special.
Fantastic. All right, thank you, everybody. That is meaning. That is, why do we do the things we do? Some things we just do them, but a lot of things we lift ourselves up when we connect to the meaning. If you can see your expressions, I hope you can in gallery view, you can see when we were talking about the food and the rituals, people's faces lit up because it gives us meaning. And that's what the whole bracha concept is, right? Whenever we do something in Judaism, we say a bracha, well, most things, let's just say, and it helps us to anchor ourselves into the tradition, into our connection to God, into connection to our tradition, into our community, knowing that Jews all over the world are saying these brachas and doing these things gives us meaning. So meaning is the fuel for doing. If you wake up some days and you're feeling, I can't do this anymore. There's things we say to ourselves that are toxic, right? That make us just even feel worse, especially in pandemic, when there's so many things we already are not able to do. So that's when we bring meaning to the fuel of doing by looking at what can I do? What can I do that will bring meaning to my own life and for the lives of people who I love, the lives of people who I don't even know, finding the meaning, okay, which it shouldn't be so hard because there are even little things that we already know. It's just connecting to the meaning of it that is like fuel, okay? Much more to say about that, but I'm going to move on. Finally, and thank you everybody for sharing everything that you said. Attitude. So we already did breath. Okay, in our Bima structure, we talked about the breath and connecting to the breath, breathing from the edge of the universe into our very inner edge of the universe, and recognizing that breath is regenerating and literally to inspire is to take a deep breath in, is to feel like more awake and alive, to feel inspired by the idea of breathing and being renewed. Then we talked about the inner dialogue, being conscious of the things that we say to ourselves, how it feels in our body, and using the speech, right, brachas and positive speech, right, to create, more positivity around us, being careful of how we use our words, being careful knowing what to say, when not to speak. That's another aspect of that inner tune-up, okay, inner dialogue, and recognizing that when we speak, it's like creating actuality around us. Then we talked about the M is meaning. Meaning is the fuel for doing and connecting to the things in our lives that are meaningful. And when we can't find the meaning, digging deep, okay, because there's always meaning there, even if it's pulling out something that we haven't done in a while, connecting with friends, connecting with a family recipe, right, is meaning. Next, we have the A, which is attitude, especially gratitude. Gratitude unlocks, yes? Someone want to say something? Okay, so attitude, especially gratitude, unlocks the fullness of life. It turns what we have into enough and more. And this is from Melanie Beatty, and the hardest arithmetic to master is that which enables us to count our blessings. I love that. Okay. How do you become a spiritual millionaire? And we all want to be millionaires. Some of us, maybe we are millionaires, but who is rich? One who is happy with their portion. We're always we always have a portion. We're here, we have something. And if we have something, then we have something to give. If we have something, we have something to be grateful for. All right, that's taking it to like the basis level. But I think, many of us have a lot of blessings if we went around and just said, what are you grateful for? And we're almost in the Thanksgiving time, but Sukkot is actually the Jewish Thanksgiving, right? What are we grateful for? To reflect on that every day. Some people have a gratitude journal. Some people will wake up first thing in the morning and it's writing papers. Just start writing what you're grateful for. Modeh ani is the first thing we say in the morning. Thank you, God. All right, for what? If you need a little help, sometimes just getting it on paper. Some people do the gratitude practice as they're going to sleep at night, and it finds that it's very calming. It's calming. Instead of worrying, going to bed with anxiety, we go to bed with calm. That just actually reminds me of a teaching from that I just heard from mygewishlearning.com. They have 5 to 10 minute Torah live on it's on Facebook actually. I do them periodically, but I was just listening to another teacher on Friday who said the word da'aga, worry in Hebrew, da'aga, is comprised of the 4 first letters of the Hebrew alphabet except for bet. Da'aga, it has aleph, it has gimel, it has dalet, it has hey. What is it missing? Bet. So what does that mean? Bet, that letter, that Hebrew letter, it's a graphic that looks like a house. Bet stands for bayit, which means house. And bet is also the number 2, which is a symbol of connecting to another one. So when do we have worry? When we feel like we're not in our home, when we're not secure, when we don't have, the people and the things around us that make us feel comfortable. Many of us, I believe, we're home, okay? Because of the pandemic, we're home. That shouldn't be a source of worry. Let's allow it to be that bet, that bayit feeling that we're looking for in life. Okay, of looking around us and having gratitude for the things that we have, for the people that are still with us, for the memory of those who were with us, right? That could really be very nourishing and even calming. Instead of thinking what we don't have, that leads us to da'aga. But when we focus on what we have, especially when we're home, that could be very fulfilling and help us to connect. Okay, finally, I love this piece, and some of you who've studied with me a lot have probably seen this before, but I'm going to give it over. To pray, this is from Abraham Joshua Heschel, one of our rabbis who was at the seminary. To pray is to take notice of the wonder, to regain a sense of the mystery that animates all beings, the divine margin in all attainments. Prayer is our humble answer to the inconceivable surprise of living. It is all we can offer in return for the mystery by which we live. Who is worthy to be present at the constant unfolding of time, amidst the meditation of mountains, the humility of flowers, wiser than all alphabets, clouds that die constantly for the sake of God's glory, capital G. When we are hating, hunting, hurting, suddenly we feel ashamed of our clashes and complaints in the face of the tacit glory of nature. So embarrassing to live, how strange we are in the world, and how presumptuous are our doings. Only one response can maintain us: gratefulness for witnessing the wonder, for the gift of our unearned rights to live, to adore, and to fulfill. It is gratefulness which makes the soul great. So my blessing for us as we conclude this session on Bima, on the traits that are right within our within reach, the things we can do to help us stay calm when maybe we're not feeling so calm, okay, is to remember that we are blessed, right, with breath, the bet, the Bima. We are blessed to understand that our words matter, that we can work with that inner dialogue and elevate it. The M, meaning, connecting to meaning in our lives. And the A, the attitude that will drive each day. And when we feel like we're falling, we could always come back to balance, come back to center with these tools. I am so grateful for all of you for listening and participating in this conversation today. Thank you so much, Jeanette, for inviting me.
Oh, Rabbi Danielle, thank you so much. We are grateful for you and for these wonderful words. I feel as if we could adapt the prayer that Rabbi Blatt taught us to thank your mother for giving you, who's on the phone, Sherry, and to thank you for giving Rabbi Danielle to us and bringing her to us. I neglected to say this after Rabbi Blatt spoke, but we will be making a donation to Torah Fund in honor of both you and Rabbi Blatt to thank you for joining us today. And we hope you'll join us in the future at other Florida region events where we'll have an opportunity to hear more teaching from you. We did have a request if you could either post your link for the source material, if you have a link, or if you could share it with me and I will share it with those who are attending today. Thank you so very, very, very much for joining us today.
Pleasure.
We are now moving on to part 2 of the Torah Fund Day of Study for our presentation of our Torah Fund Campaign Awards. I'm going to ask for those of you who know, I truly, truly miss doing this in person. I'm going to ask, it's truly my honor. Let me start that over. Doing 3 things at once. Each sisterhood that receives a Torah Fund Award of Honor does so because they reached and or exceeded a certain minimum fundraising goal. Last year, Florida Region raised $197,000 from a grassroots campaign that reached out from your sisterhoods to you as individuals. We should all be very, very proud of that amount. Chesed, kindness or loving kindness, was our theme this past year, and we certainly showed our kindness to the students of the 5 conservative Masorti seminaries with the amount of money that we raised. The past campaign also tested our chesed, our hearts of kindness. Some congregations that are going to be announced this morning actually reached their goals, even though their carefully planned events had to be canceled due to COVID. That was due to the generosity of so many of you. It's truly my honor to present these awards, which, by the way, were mailed in advance to the Sisterhood Torah Fund chair people in advance of today, except one person who's on this call, Sue Foreman. I'll tell you why afterwards, due to the virtual nature of our program. As I call out each sisterhood's name, if your Torah Fund chairperson is present, please unmute yourself and say your name. That way you'll be spotlighted if you're on speaker view. Hold up your certificate and tell us who you are. And I'm going to move on. This is the list, and I am going to also share a copy of the certificates. Okay. And I apologize, I received this list out of alphabetical order. Our first congregation is Beit Shirah congregation in Miami. Ellen, are you still on the call?
Yes, I am.
There's
okay. And I'm Torah Fund Chair of Bet Shirah, and we are a congregation that's struggling to stay the only conservative synagogue down here in South Florida. And I was very surprised that we were able to meet the goal, and very thankful to all of the Bet Shirah participants who helped us meet that goal. We were unfortunately, the temple closed down Friday before the Saturday we were going to have our to honor our Torah Fund donors, but I did thank everybody who donated, and I thank Jeanette for trying to be there.
I was ready and down here, and their food fortunately unfortunately had been prepared, but it was fortunately donated so that others were able to benefit. But I think she is understating, Ellen, because 2 years ago they blew their goal out of the water, and they also surpassed their goal this past year. Beth Torah Betty Rock campus in North Miami Beach. Judy, are you here?
Yes, I am.
And there's her certificate.
And I've got it. I'm Judy Berger, and I am currently the president of Beth Torah Sisterhood in North Miami Beach. And we were really, really thrilled to be able to actually exceed our goal last year and to help in this fantastic endeavor. And I want to congratulate the other sisterhoods who were successful in also receiving this award. Thank you, Jeanette.
Thank you, Judy. B'nai Aviv Sisterhood in Weston. I do not believe anybody is on from B'nai Aviv. But they started off very small with their Torah fund, and they're growing each year. Women's League of B'nai Torah congregation in Boca. Shula, you here?
Yes, I am. Can you see me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm VP of Torah Fund, and I'm delighted that we made our goal for Chesed campaign. Looking forward to Beyachad. It's so ironic that the word Beyachad, together, makes us so far apart virtually, but we're hoping to do the best we can this year as well. Thank you, everybody, for contributing.
Thank you, Shula, for all your hard work. Congregation Beth Shalom Sisterhood in Clearwater.
That's me, Renee Feynman. This is our certificate. We are the proud congregation of Rabbi Daniel Uppin from this morning, and I co-chair Torah Fund with Masha Milenina, and we are very excited about Torah Fund this year. I'm also the mother of Rabbi Blatt, so it's been a great morning. I'm excited to be here with you this morning, and thank you so much.
Thank you, Renee. Congregation B'nai Israel Sisterhood Gainesville.
I'm gonna accept it, even though Connie received it. It's actually in the shul. She asked me to, because I'm in Chicago, not in Florida anymore, and I have relinquished my position after I don't know how many years to others because I'm not physically there anymore.
But you worked
Thank
hard.
you very much, Jill. I appreciate your doing that, for all the hard work.
I still am doing things indirectly, but
right.
It's easy from distance when we have Zoom for everything.
Thank you, Jill. And thank you, Sisterhood of B'nai Israel in Gainesville. Congregation Ohev Shalom Sisterhood in Maitland, Florida.
I'm here. Here we are. Thank you very, very much. We have succeeded and surpassed our goal. And we've been doing that for many, many years. And I want to thank all my sisterhood members who continually support and above, and those that have gone over and above and increased theirs. We thank you so very, very much.
Thank you, Susie Stone. And the sisterhood members at Congregation Ohev Shalom, which I just left, sadly.
I miss you.
I miss you too. Congregation Shai Kodesh Sisterhood, Boca Raton.
Hello. Can you see me? Because I can't see me. Yeah, well, I don't know why oh, there I am. The backgrounds. I have the Torah Fund pin in the background, so it's hard to see the certificate, but I have it. We are a very small congregation. We have approximately 30 women in our sisterhood, and I'm proud to say that we not only made our goal, we did surpass it a little bit last year, and hopefully we can try. That's all I can do is say try this year. But I appreciate the help that we get from the synagogue and the sisterhood. Thank you.
Thank you. Up there, you're back, Nancy. I was trying to get a picture with you, and you just.
I tried the same thing, but I don't know. If I take. Okay, you got it? Because I'm getting everyone else's. Doing it on my phone.
Jacksonville Jewish Center Sisterhood, Jacksonville, Florida.
Hello, Diane Rothstein. I'm the Torah Fund Chair from Jacksonville, and I just wanted to thank you, Jeanette, and also Barbara and Phyllis for all of your help. I'm still fairly new and learning a lot, and it's been wonderful, and we've had great support from our sisterhood members and from part of the congregation also. So we are working hard, and we will work hard again in the next year to raise money for a very, very good cause, as we all know.
Thank you, Diane. Congregation Colony Sisterhood, Tampa, Florida.
Hi,
our sisterhood not only reached our goal, but we also went far beyond it. And this year we'll do it again. We love Torah Fund. Thank you.
Thank you, Roberta. And again, thank you for everything you did to help us today.
Oh, thank you.
Congregation Road of Shalom Sisterhood, Sue Foreman, if you're still on, I have your award on the screen. Sue, are you still here?
15 minutes.
Anybody see Sue? Is she muted?
No, yes, I'm muted, but I'm unmuted now. Thank you very much. When I didn't get my certificate, I was feeling a little sad, but our honoring event was canceled, just the same thing, just when it began. But this year, God willing, I'm going to do it earlier, and we'll do it obviously virtually. I'm going to start working on it very soon. Thank you. Thank you very much. And I love this morning's sessions. I have lots of notes and I loved it. Thank you thank you, Rabbi Blatt. Thank you, Rabbi Upton. It was really good. And thank you to all of you who planned it.
Thank you, Susan. You missed an email from me. I did not have your personal address. I have your certificate that you see on the screen. And if you would send me an email with your personal address. I didn't want to send it to the synagogue because I didn't know if you were going in there. I do have to say, Road of Shalom is one of the congregations, as Sue said, that had sent out their invitations, had their event planned, had a wonderful, wonderful honoree. And unfortunately, it had to be canceled, but they still managed to make their goal, as they do year after year.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Temple Beth Tikva Sisterhood, Green Acres, Florida. Is anyone on from Green Acres?
Yes, Marion
That's what I thought,
LeBeau.
Marian. I thought you were still here.
Yeah, there I am. This is our certificate, which we were so proud to receive this year because it's really been tough. Our sisterhood is very small and we work hard, and the congregation has been very supportive. And we hope that the pandemic will be over so that we can have our fundraising event. Maybe we'll have to do it virtually this year, but hopefully we will be able to do it and raise the same amount for this year.
I know
I enjoyed the program this morning very much. Thank you.
You've worked very hard, Marian. Can you hold that up again so I can get a shot? Thank you. And thank you for all your hard work. Temple Beth Torah Sharet Tzedek Sisterhood, Tampa. Is anyone still on? They had a program that was starting at 12:30. No? Well, we thank them for working hard. I know Hetty sent me a message that they had to leave for the program. I know there were a couple people that were on, but we thank them. Temple B'nai Jacob of Wellington. There was someone on earlier.
Ella was on, Jeanette. Is she gone?
Yeah, I think she also said she had to leave a few minutes.
She had to leave.
Yeah, that's right.
She did send me a message that she had to leave a few minutes early, but we also thank them. They worked very hard. They also are a struggling congregation in many ways. And they work very hard. They always support Torah Fund. Temple Emmanuel of Palm Beach.
Hi, Margie Konigsberg. I'm here can you hear me?
Absolutely.
Hi. Yes. Hi. I'm president of Temple Emmanuel, and I'm honored to accept it on behalf of Hannah Siegelstein, who's our Torah Fund vice president and also was our honoree last year. And because of that, I believe we surpassed our goal because everybody loves Hannah. Hannah was allowed to go visit her grandchildren in Louisville. So they drove up safely and are tested and doing everything they can. So she's so thrilled that to see her little granddaughter that she couldn't be on with us today, but I thank you.
Thank you, Margie, for being on to accept the award. I actually had tears in my eyes yesterday when I saw her Facebook post of being able to hug her granddaughter.
I know, I'm so jealous. So very jealous. And by the way, I happened to be talking to my daughter at intermission here, and apparently she attended Rabbi Rachel Blatt's wedding. So they're very close friends. So I felt she was very special, and we enjoyed her today. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, I remember when Hannah actually told me that she was going to be the honoree, and she didn't think that they would raise much money because she was the honoree, and I just poo-pooed her. And
Well, you were there, weren't you? Didn't you
I
come?
was, but this was months before she told me that she didn't think that
I know, she's very modest, and we were very honored to have the event in February and have both you and Margie Miller there. It was a very special event. This year's honoree is feeling a little timid following Hannah and now being virtual.
I'm sure it will be a wonderful success, and I will enjoy attending virtually.
And you'll be there.
I will. Temple Torah Emet Sisterhood, Boynton Beach.
Yep. Harriet Harris, Torah Fund Chair. We were so happy to have achieved our goal this year. Our event also was canceled. Our invitations had gone out just before we were supposed to have it. And we try our best to reach our goal this year. And I would like to say a very special thank you to Leah Zacks in Sarasota. I know she was on before, for putting me in this position a long time ago. So she was responsible.
You're welcome. Thank you for accepting it.
Thank you very much, and thank you again, as she says, as Harriet said, another congregation that had a wonderful, wonderful Bintel Brief program planned for their Torah Fund event. And I'm hoping at some point in the future, we'll be able to see all the preparation that went into that. Congregation B'nai Israel Sisterhood, St. Petersburg. I don't think anybody is on at this point. I know they also had a program today, but they also had a beautiful, beautiful Torah Fund event, and they always make or surpass their goal. Temple Beth Shalom Sisterhood, Sarasota.
I'm on.
Where are you? I'm trying to find you.
I don't know
There
where
you are, Avi.
I don't have our certificate. Joan has it, and I don't believe that Joan is on. We were very happy that we had our event at the end of February, just a couple weeks before. We were all told that we had to stay home, and we are in the throes of planning a wonderful virtual event for this year, at which time our honoree will be Leah Zacks, who was also on this call.
I am thrilled to hear that, and I will look forward to attending virtually. But I love making the trek each year to Sarasota. Then this past year, St. Pete was the evening before, and it worked out perfectly, but no travels this year. But we'll miss seeing you in person. Always a wonderful, for those of you who don't know, Temple Beth Shalom not only has a luncheon, but they have a morning of study with a scholar as well. Wonderful event. And that is all 18 of our award recipients. Yashar Kochachem to each and every one of you. And of course to the leaders of your campaign and all of your generous donors. Each of you should be very proud of the parts you've played through Torah Fund as role models of chesed, listening to your hearts of kindness in order to ensure the strength and perpetuate conservative and Masorti Judaism for today and for future generations. We do this together, biyachad. And now for closing remarks, I want to turn the program over to Kathy Swerdlow.
So normally now I'd be telling you to drive safely home, and I don't have to worry about that. But this was a wonderful, wonderful day. Thank you, Jeanette, and everybody that helped to plan it. Rabbi Blatt and Rabbi Uppin were just so inspiring. It was such a blessing for us to all be together. I do want to remind you of a couple of things coming up. This Thursday is the Sharsheret program for the region. And there's the information. Thank you, Jeanette. The One Day Fun Day is coming up on January 31st. And our spring conference is now going to be virtual, and it will be on Sunday, April 11th. So that will be updated soon in all of our information. As we've said many times this morning, the joy of virtual is that we can all be there and we don't have to worry so much about traveling. And I really want to encourage everyone to put their events out there so that everybody can join in, myself including. I very much want to be a part of the different events that are happening throughout the region at your sisterhood. So please be sure to let me know what's coming up and invite me. And if there are no other conflicting Zooms, I would love to be there with you. So thank you everybody for joining us, whether you were in our region or outside of our region. It was just wonderful, and have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Kathy. And again, and another thank you from me. If any of you want to stay on and continue, we actually have this Zoom link for quite a bit longer. So if you choose to stay on and visit a little longer, that's quite all right. I'm not going to cut it off until I see the last person has left. I again want to thank our visitors from around North America, and I really mean North America. We had a region vice president from Toronto who joined us today. We had our region vice president from Los Angeles who got up very, very early and joined us, as well as quite a number of others, as well as Debbie Kenner-Goldich, our international president, and Barbara Esring, our international Torah Fund chairperson. Thank you all. Safe travels home. Stay safe, stay healthy. And we hope to see you again very soon. Again, the links to donate to Torah Fund, our Creating New Spaces, are also up in the chat.